Welcome back to the New York Sports Rapid Rundown, the best show where we discuss the hottest 3 topics in New York sports. And this week, joining me in studio is a guy who I connected with a few years ago at a Brooklyn Nets open practice. He is the nighttime host on WFAN, also one of the hosts of the Talking Nets podcast, the one and only Keith McPherson. Keith, welcome to the show, man.
Dex, thanks for having me, and everybody else, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Oh, man, I'm happy you're here. Been a fan of your work for a long time since we've connected, and we get to work together sometimes. At
WFAN at night. You're doing the updates while I'm on.
Late nights. Guys doing a lot of late night work, but we're making it work.
Grinding.
We got a lot to talk about this week on the show, okay? Including the New York Liberty. They captured the Commissioner's Cup this week. The Yankees dropping below 500 for the first time in a long time, which Keith is not happy about.
Yikes.
But yes, yikes. Yikes is definitely the word around the Yankees. But first, we're going to talk some Jets football. So this week on Hard Knocks, we saw Robert Salah. He called out the offensive line, Keith, in front of the rest of the team, and he did not hold back at all on this. The O-line, I've seen you talk about this on WFAN. Mm-hmm. They're looking like the weak link of the Jets right now. Do you think Salah calling them out was the right move here?
Yeah, and honestly, going from the first episode where everybody talked about, Rob Salah, he looks like he's the beta to Aaron Rodgers' alpha. He's supposed to be the head coach. He's got to assert himself. It's almost like you could read the script. Next week on Hard Knocks, Rob Salah is going to assert himself, call out the offensive line. Anyone that's been paying attention to the Jets knows that the offensive line is the weakness. We didn't need to hear Robert Salah drop F-bombs and call them out. It's an issue right now. But, I don't know. I really don't buy into the whole Aaron Rodgers is running the show. I just think that Aaron Rodgers is great, and they respect greatness. You're going from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers. Of course you're going to respect that man. Multiple-time MVP, Super Bowl champ, all of the accolades. But Rob Salah doing what he did on Hard Knocks, to me it was almost like, the television production backwards, right? Okay, I know last week I didn't assert myself and it was produced this way. Now I'm going to give you guys something to produce and show me really talking to the team in a way like a head coach should.
Are you buying it? Are you saying that this is a little performative? Do you buy what he did there?
I'm buying it, but I just think it's obvious, right? The main thing he said that stuck with me was that we need to change the narrative. We need to change what everybody views us as. Right. We know that. And if you watch football, if you know anything about football, it starts in the trenches. It starts up front. So you can have Aaron Rodgers, like he said. You can have 2 $10 million receivers, like he said. You can have the offensive rookie of the year. It doesn't matter if you can't block up front. So he wasn't saying anything nobody ever heard before, didn't know. He just was asserting himself as, I'm the coach. I'm in charge. I'm going to drop some F-bombs so you really feel me.
Yeah, I hope they felt him. Jets fans hope that they felt him in what he said. Now, you said everybody knows that the O-line is an issue, and there's some concern about it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you about this Jets O-line and why?
It being a little bit after mid-August, and we still have a couple more weeks, I'd say like a 6.5. We'll see where they go. I've said on WFAN, they can look outside of who they have. Maybe guys get cut, and look out for that, right? These rosters have to get trimmed across the league. 32 teams have to cut down from 90 guys to 53 guys. There could be some guys available like that, but those guys are going to be depth pieces. We got to see what happens with Dwayne Brown. He's a veteran. He's 38 years old. He's not going to practice, but I've heard Aaron Rodgers say he's going to play. Mekhi Becton has been a huge story for the last 2-3 years with the Jets. And in the last Hard Knocks, you see Aaron Rodgers put an arm around this guy and say, hey, we need to connect, kind of, to boost him up and say, look, big fella, we need you. Elijah Vera Tucker, I think he's solid. Laken Tomlinson, Connor McGovern. They have some solid guys. They need to find 5. So I'm not really too worried about it. I think they'll get there before week 1.
All right, I think they're going to get there before week 1. That should keep Jets fans very happy. Some hope around the Jets and their offensive line, although some people are concerned. Okay, we're going to talk about the New York Yankees with Keith. And you heard Keith say yikes before. And the reason he's saying yikes is because I see you, Keith. I see you. I'm trying to make sure you get in the right mode. I don't want to build up the blood pressure here.
I did a lot of yelling this week, Dex. I had to rave about it this week.
If you were listening to WFAN, you heard a little bit of ranting from Keith. Here's why. Yankees, at the time of us recording this, are now 2 games below 500.
Yeah.
Yankee fans haven't seen this before, this late in the season, in a long time.
Literally.
Literally a long time. But I'm not saying you are, Keith. Some Yankee fans, they're keeping hope alive. They are still believing. So I'm going to ask you this really simply. Is it a wrap for the Yankees' playoff dreams right now?
Yeah, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. They lost 6 in a row when they needed to win 6 in a row. They're about to be 7 games back. I mean, it just got bad, man. And I understand for fans that, the way you watch the game is it ain't over till it's over, and until we're mathematically out, I'm going to root for my team, and that's great. But if you watch baseball and you watch the rest of the league, they were right a couple years ago when they said the league has closed the gap on them. There's some young, exciting teams in baseball right in their own division. The teams that they used to bully in their own division, the Orioles are at the top, right? The Tampa Bay Rays, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox. Right now, they're in the battle for last place with the Red Sox. That game was over in 5 minutes last night.
Yeah.
It was over right away. And it's just toxic. It's bad. I said on WFAN, the team is rotten, and it starts from the top. Hal Steinbrenner down to Brian Cashman. Hal for, what he sees fit for the franchise organization, if it's just to make money, whether it's, the ticket prices or the streaming services or penny pinching on every single thing in the stadium and not really, so much putting the money towards the best players. And then they have spent the money. They have a high payroll, but the way that Brian Cashman built this team is just wrong. It's flawed. You always have these older players. It seems like every era of the Yankees, we end up looking at these guys that are kind of past their prime. But then you're also wasting guys that are in their prime, like Garrett Cole, who's about to win the AL Cy Young, like Judge, who won the American League MVP last year. He's doing it on one foot right now. Anthony Volpe, a young kid, is expected to play like he's not a 22-year-old rookie. There's too many missing parts. It's disconnected. I feel like the Yankees are in an identity crisis. I got off the quote-unquote roller coaster, if you hear me on WFAN. When did I say I was out on the Yankees? After they blew that game in Colorado, the first series back from the All-Star break. I really was out the Cubs series right before the All-Star break, but I'm like, you can't quit on the team until they take the 4 or 5 days off. Maybe they come back. But when I saw them blow that game against a last-place Colorado team, I just knew. They found ways to lose all season, rock bottom after rock bottom. They're still seeking it out. It isn't a team that's built to win. Injuries, obviously, are going to be the main excuse this year, but it's deeper than that. Cashman has made a bunch of wrong moves the last 5 or 6 years in this championship window when they did get to Game 7, and they haven't gotten back to Game 7 of the ALCS since.
And I want to touch on that with you with Cashman, so it is very clear, folks, that Keith is out. There's no hope alive here. He's been out. He's been off the roller coaster.
No, football, please, week 1.
He needs football season to start immediately. You talked about Cashman, and I heard you the other day on air talking about how Cashman has been comfortable.
Yeah.
He's been too comfortable. So when you talk about all that with Brian Cashman, do you think the Yankees need a change in terms of culture when it comes to the front office? As a fan, somebody who talks about this team, is it time for a change in the front office culture of the New York Yankees?
I think the future is now. I think it's soon. I think comfort is the enemy of progress. If you get too comfortable, you're not getting better. You're not doing the little things to improve the team because you don't have to. And the prime example of that was at this deadline, August 1st, I felt like he quit on the team. This team needed a left fielder for the last 2 years. This team needed a third baseman. This team needed another catcher. This team needed a high leverage reliever. There were so many needs, and I think he looked at the roster and said, I can't fix this, so I'm not gonna do anything. And I'm not even gonna sell off. I'm not even gonna sell off some of these pieces. I'm going to let this team drown in it. Either they sink or they swim. Right now, they're drowning. So I just think that 30 years have passed with Brian Cashman as the GM. You can't check him. Hal Steinbrenner can't check him. Hal Steinbrenner says, you got it, Brian. I trust you. But this guy has no fear of losing his job. I feel like a young GM that had fear of losing his job would be wheeling and dealing at the deadline trying to save the season. And this is New York. This is the Yankees. Their business model is you get to October and you make a run through October. This guy took a chance at missing October, and it looks like the team's going to miss October. I think the future is now. I think Hal Steinbrenner is forced to think of a future after Brian Cashman now. He's on the hot seat. If he doesn't fix this by next year, you have to start thinking of bringing in a younger, creative, different guy, because I think the other GMs across baseball have grown tired of Brian Cashman as well. I don't think his tricks work anymore. I don't think these guys have the tolerance and patience for him anymore. He's not finessing anybody. He's not fleecing anybody at the trade deadline. And these other GMs are looking at him like, you need us. You need our help.
It's gonna be interesting. Really interesting to see what the Yankees do. Doesn't look like October's likely. Keith is off the roller coaster. some fans still on the roller coaster, still riding.
Enjoy it.
Keeping mathematical hope alive. Do you?
Enjoy what you can enjoy. It's hard to watch. It's a struggle.
Keith is like, I've been off that ride for quite some time. Okay, we're going to talk about the New York Liberty for topic number 3. The New York Liberty, they captured the Commissioner's Cup, Keith. They did that on Tuesday night. They've played the Aces 4 times this year. They've won 2 games. The Aces have won 2 games. We talk about the Commissioner's Cup because it's an in-season tournament like we're going to see with the NBA Cup this year. Do you think the Liberty winning the Commissioner's Cup can give them any confidence to actually winning their first WNBA title this year?
Absolutely. It's like a checkpoint, right? It's like a checkmark. I'm just talking about the Yankees quitting at the halfway point of the season at the deadline. They're strong at the halfway point. So there's belief that, hey, we did it here. We just got to see it the rest of the way through. And obviously we know this team is stacked. Obviously we know what they did in the offseason. You guys are looking right now at all these women that are just doing it. They're putting it together in Brooklyn. I mean, I'm a Nets fan, but they're the dominant team over there in the Barclays Center, and their future is brighter than the Brooklyn Nets. And here in New York, we're in a drought, right? We're waiting for the next championship parade to come through. We saw what the Aces parade looked like in Vegas last year. Maybe the Liberty can get it done. I'll be at that parade. I don't care who wins the next championship in New York. I'll be at the parade taking it in.
You're there for the parade. Now, look, speaking of parades, and I think we should talk about this, right? Because when you talk about parades, it's been a drought in New York. We haven't seen a championship in quite a bit of time, except NYCFC did win one a couple years ago. Shout out to y'all.
It counts.
They count. Shout out to y'all. With what you've seen from the Liberty and the excitement you talk about, all the ladies there, Sabrina Ionescu playing really good, Breanna Stewart playing so good for them. Are the Liberty the New York team that is in the best position to win a championship? Are they the team to do that? You say yes.
Yes. It's funny because Evan Roberts asked me this question months ago, and I had said the New York Rangers, and then my Devils ended up knocking the Rangers out. I honestly thought from last year, the Rangers being right there with the Lightning, I thought that this year the Rangers, they add Patrick Kane. I'm like, they're going to make a run to the Cup. No, it's the Liberty, and coincidentally, it's also the Knicks right behind them. I think the Knicks showed a lot of people what they did in the playoffs with Brunson. They've added a couple pieces, and they're going to contend again. I think they're going to be right there in an East that's wide open, but we'll stick to the Liberty. I don't want my Nets fans out there hating on me for pumping up the Knicks. The Liberty, I think, are the team that's in position right now to win a chip. It ain't the Yankees. It ain't the Mets. And I know that we have a lot of hype around the Jets going to the Super Bowl and the Giants, but we got to be for real. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. The Liberty are dominant. They have all the pieces, and they're this close.
Yeah, they seem like they're right there, very competitive with the Aces, and it's going to be really interesting to see. They got a matchup coming up at the Barclays Center on the 28th. I'm trying to get to that game. It's going to be really interesting to see how they finish the season and what they can do in the postseason. Keith, man, we just went through 3 topics. I'm glad. You did great. You had a lot to say.
Of course. Always have a lot to say.
You always have a lot to say.
That's why they put me on for 5 hours.
Yeah. Check this man out. Weeknights on WFAN. He does a great job on there. And sometimes we get to work together. I get to do the updates for him, and, we have some fun. We talk some sports. Keith, I got to have you back on the Rapid Rundown. I appreciate you so much for coming through, and we'll do this again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, my man. Next time, guys. Till next time we see you. Peace and enjoy the sports.